So today we're talking about chapters 9 and 10 of the book. And one thing that caught me in chapter 9, it was talking about developing means for operation, and they talked briefly about strategies for solving contextual problems, which problem solving was a really hard thing for me when I was in elementary, middle school, and high school, basically all of school. I did not do with problem solving at all. But this chapter toward the end talked a little bit about them, and they had this little section which I'm going to read because it really helps me think of problem solving. And so the first thing is, what is happening in the problem? Ask students what is happening in the problem, and so the students will then figure out what is happening. This example talked about trucks, and so the answer was some trucks bring dirt and fill up big holes. So that's what's going on. And then next you ask them, is there any extra information that we don't need? And it turned out in this problem there was, and it talked about cubic yards, and they didn't actually need to use that. It was just thrown in there. Don't ask me why, because I don't understand why information needs to be thrown in there to throw kids off the track. I think that's just mean. But then what will the answer tell us? And it will tell us how many tons of dirt were needed to fill the holes. So the answer will be in some kind of tons, which was brain explosion for me, because it's if I had this strategy, that would make my life so much easier when I was in school, but now I'm just getting it now. So, and then what will the number of tons be small or large? And so this is where they use the estimation, which I was told to estimate. I guess I just didn't, but I didn't have the steps before it, so the estimation part was hard for me. But so there were 7.3 tons on the truck, but there were a lot of trucks, not just one, so the answer is going to be big. And then it has them estimate and say how many tons do you think it will be. And so they timesed if there was 1,000 trucks, then it would be 73,000 tons. But it's going to be less than that because the number of trucks was smaller, but the number of trucks was also larger than half of that, so it's going to be somewhere in that range. So now you have a range to figure out if your answer's in, which was just above and beyond light bulb for me. But wish I had those when I was in school. There are two things I want to talk about in Chapter 10, which is helping students mastering basic facts, so addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And one of those is the 3 phases of acquiring these facts. The first phase is counting strategies. So if I told a kid to add 2 plus 3, they would go 2, 1, 2, and then put 3 more, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and their answer is 5. They don't have to use their fingers. They could use different counters, but they're basically counting. The second phase has to deal with reasoning. So if I gave a student 5 plus 6, they would reason that 5 plus 5 is 10, but 6 is 1 more than 5, so they need to add 1 more to the 10 to get 11. And then they'll have mastery, so they'll be able to just 7 plus 8 is 15 and know it. Or at least know the strategy to get there quickly. So that's good. The second thing from Chapter 10 is what to do when teaching students basic facts and what not to do. So we'll start with the positives, like what you should do when you teach students basic facts. You should ask the students to self-monitor themselves so that they realize what they're doing and what strategies that they're using and what works and what doesn't work. Focus on their self-improvement. Don't have a big chart in the class, because then everyone knows who's not doing so well at their facts, and if that's you, that's really gonna hurt. But have them self-monitor that. Have them know that, yeah, they might have gotten 2 facts right today, but down the road they can see that, oh, now I'm at 10, that's really sweet. Drill in short segments. So if you're gonna use drill at all, do it very short, and don't do the 3-minute times tables every day, all day, because that gets boring really quickly and can cause stress. Work on facts over time. So focus in on a specific fact. If the students are having a really hard time with their 7s times tables, then focus on their 7 times tables for a week. Don't do 7s and 8s, or 7s and 9s, just focus on the 7s, and then move on to the 8s next week, or once they've mastered the 7s. Involve the families. Families are fun. Like, have students, we discussed in class, bringing a game home and having the students play the game with their family as a type of assessment, and we'd have questions that the parents could ask the students about their mathematical processes. So that's a cool way to involve families. Or have like a family game night, math game night, so that the parents can come to the school and do math with their children. Make drill enjoyable, so just don't give them a worksheet, like have games, like that's drill also, but the kids don't realize it's drill because they're having fun and playing a game. Use technology, find an app on an iPad or something and have the kids use that app as their drill, and emphasize the importance of quick recall to facts. So it would make life a lot easier if you could quickly recall a fact than if you have to count on your fingers all the time. And so what not to do is don't use lengthy time tests. It can cause stress and anxiety for the kids, and that can just make them mess up in general. Like, they might know it, but the anxiety of having it based on this test could like mess them up. And don't use public comparisons of mastery. I talked about that before. Like, you don't want that big huge chart. You want like the students to have like maybe in a binder, have them like self-monitor themselves. Don't proceed facts through 0 through 9. Skip around. Like, it's easier to do 1s, 2s, 5s, and 10s for multiplication and zeros, but it's harder to do like 7s, 8s, and 9s. So get the easy stuff done first, then work on the hard stuff. Don't work on all the facts at once. Talked about that earlier. Don't move to memorization too soon. You want to teach them the counting skills and the breaking down skills, the reasoning skills, because that will help them later on when they're doing more advanced things. They'll have those techniques to use. Or if you're like me and haven't been doing the multiplication facts in forever, someone spews out a multiplication fact and you're like, let me go get my calculator, because I wasn't taught the breaking down facts, so I can't do like large mental math in my head. So I go get a calculator. But you can teach your students not to get a calculator. So don't use facts as a barrier to good mathematics, and don't use fact mastery as a prerequisite for calculator use. So they can use their calculators. Calculators are a part of the technology that students can use to start grasping concepts. So don't make them master their facts before they can use a calculator, like I had to do. I was not allowed to use a calculator until about 8th grade. Had to know my facts. I mean, it was good because my mental math was amazing, but it stressed me out because I couldn't use a calculator. So, and come back next week, and there'll be more math fun. Math fun. Da 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 da.